Hey, welcome to the Out of Spec podcast. This is the new revamped show. You're going to hopefully see some rapid fire episodes from us talking about individual topics such as our Lucid Air Grand Touring range test. Dad, I just got back home from 435.5 miles of driving.
Kyle, trust me, I know you wasted. I spent 4 hours watching that thing. It was like so compelling, and at the end, it had a payoff. I was actually scared. I was worried that you weren't going to make it.
Yeah, well, so you're talking about the live stream on our Out of Spec Motoring channel that you watched.
Yes.
And yeah, ran that sucker from 100% to complete all the way down to full throttle for like 4 miles. I didn't think I was going to make it back to the Charger.
I know. It was a lot of drama, Out of Spec drama.
Out of spec drama. That's right. Well, that's the way to range test, is to get everything out of the car. I want to talk about our results. I want to talk about the test. I want to talk about the Lucid Air, and also sort of why I think our testing day was actually really good, and I think very representative of the car today. So what's your impression right off the bat? For those, I guess we should start. For those watching this and haven't checked out our range test on Out of Spec Reviews, head over there. You can see the whole test, full edited videos posted. But here, I think we should just talk about the range test of what's claimed to be the longest range electric car on sale.
Yeah. Well. First of all, I know you tried to do this test yesterday, and you threw the towel in after some rain. So, and I respect that. I as much as I wanted you to do it and push through, but I got it was a little bit scary at the beginning of this test today that you did, because you started off with some rain. But I must say that, just if I could, the folks that were on the live stream just helping you, guide you with weather and all that was unbelievable. That's team effort, So, but having said that, look, this Lucid Air is just an animal. It's just amazing the range that you can actually get out of that car. It's a big car, Kyle. How much does that thing weigh? I don't even know.
Yeah, not sure off the top of my head, but quite heavy.
Yeah, quite heavy. And the fact that it's got, what is it, 112 kilowatt hour battery pack in there?
So I want to talk about that. I also want to mention, you just mentioned we hit some rain in this test. We hit about a mile and a half of, I would say, mild drizzle, where we had about probably a half a mile of a wet road, actually. So not the perfect conditions. No range test is perfect. That's the thing. I said, hey, if this is the only rain we hit all day, the test is fine. Occasionally, especially when you're going 300-400 miles on a charge, you get stuck behind a truck a little bit. You get a construction zone. The 70-mile-an-hour tests are designed to get the car at 70 miles an hour for as much as possible. 99% of the test is at 70. But of course, things will happen. And in this test, we had some drizzle. I don't think it impacted the test very much at all. Otherwise, I would have stopped it like I did the day before, where I actually stopped the test, said, this is too much. And even that, people were asking me to go.
Yeah.
But I think we made the right call. I think I made the right call today for conditions, because that was the only rain we hit all day. And a huge thanks to Sandy from the live stream, who was having weather radar up the entire test and was saying, we were basically in the middle of these storms all around us. It's like, oh, loop now, you'll avoid the rain on the other side. By the time you get back, the other storm's going to be coming in. You'll have to loop again. It was just amazing.
And he nailed it. He nailed it. It was unbelievable.
And we avoided all the bad stuff. So,
yeah. So look, I want to just go over the car. This is a Lucid Air Grand Touring, which has the big battery pack, but it's not the Dream Edition, correct? So this is a 112 kilowatt hour battery pack, supposedly usable. This car also, you were running on 19s, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
So let's discuss this a little bit higher level first.
Sure.
Lucid originally came out with their Dream Edition range. That's the only car we've actually seen an independent range test on up to this point.
Right.
And it's a very similar test to ours, run at 70 miles an hour. And it was done by our friend Tom. And that car has 118 kilowatt hours in the battery pack claimed. This one Exact same battery pack, different cell chemistry they claim. I'm not sure what all the differences are between the Grand Touring and the Dream Edition range. I do know they're not making the Dream Edition ranges anymore. You can only get the Grand Touring, which is the spec we had today. This is the one people are actually going to buy, and it's the longest range Lucid on sale. We had the best aero wheels on it, 112 kilowatt hour claimed battery pack capacity. And let's start with that battery pack capacity test. When Tom did his test, Lucid gave him a Dream Edition range. He got 117 kilowatt hours out of it during that test. So that's very close to the 118 claimed. During my test today, I left again when the charger hit 100%. It completed, got everything out of it, left immediately, started at 70 miles an hour. And even for the last few miles of the test was at full throttle. Like I got every last drop of juice out of that car. And I only saw 109 kilowatt hours taken out of the battery pack compared to the claimed 112.
So a couple of questions for you, Kyle. The degradation, my understanding is electric vehicle batteries lose a lot up front, like in the first 2, 3, 4,000 miles. Do you know how many miles was on the car that Tom tested, the Dream?
No, I don't. I don't actually know. And the thing is, Lucid prepared that car for him. That was given to him by the company. It was probably a fresh car would be what I would do if I was Lucid. I'd give him the freshest car with, the freshest tires on it. The one I had was built in March of 2022, so a very early car. The car is a production car. It's sold to a user, someone who paid for the car. It's not a press car. It's owned by our friend Peter. And the car had about 3,900 miles on it when I started the test. So here's my theory. 112 kilowatt hours claimed battery pack capacity. That's not claimed to be usable. Lucid has roughly a 1 kilowatt hour buffer in there. They tell me, at least that's what they told me about the range. And
that's all the buffer is? Below 0%, supposedly 1 kilowatt hour?
I don't know if they put it up top or at bottom, but that's the battery pack capacity buffer.
Okay.
They let you use almost all of it because they want to get the big range numbers.
Right.
And then, I got 109 out of it. So let's just say that's 2 kilowatt hours less than maybe when the car was new. So a 2 kilowatt hour degradation in that car seems very reasonable. Less than 2% degradation in 4,300 miles at the end of the test and in 8 months of being produced, maybe a little bit less, 6 months of being produced. I think that seems about right to me. That's right on par with what I've seen from Tesla and other car makers with degradation. So again, I really think I got every last drop of juice that was available in this car out of it completely.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. And I've driven cars down below 0%, and I'm still able to go 55, 65 miles an hour. I'm talking like 3.5%, 4% under zero. And this car, just like you said, I think that makes sense that they want to give as much of the battery pack to the consumer as possible so they can maximize the range. I just, being totally transparent, I'm a little surprised. Maybe I shouldn't be that Tom was able to get 500 miles, and there were a couple of differences. Is it true that if you're at a higher altitude, the car should be to your benefit from a range standpoint, as opposed to being, let's say, at 1,200, 1,500 feet above sea level, something like that?
Yeah. So, okay. Let's get into the differences here in just a second. I do want to touch on that point 100%. There's just one last topic I want to bring up about our range test, which is pulling into the charger with 3 miles remaining on the display. So I've run this Lucid now 3 times to 0%, 3 separate times. And 2 times before, the car had great pedal response, big power, all the way down to 0. Like when you floor it at 0%, like zzz, gets right up to speed. Today, I've noticed, actually during the range testing, I noticed 2 different BMS discrepancies. And this is very common for electric vehicles to sort of sway a little bit or not know exactly how much is in the battery pack. The first time I noticed it was during yesterday's test, the one that I canceled, where I was charging it to 100%. The car completed at 98% and went, oh, actually, I'm not at 98%. I'm done. I'm at 100. It's time to go. And it totally caught me off guard. And it's on the original live stream. So that is not uncommon. It's just a little BMS moving around. Today, when I full charged the car, it sat at 98%. It went to 99% very normally, and then completed when it hit 100%. That's normal. And so to me, I was like, oh, well, yesterday may have knocked the BMS into shape, and now it knows what's in there. The thing was, at the bottom today was different than behavior I've seen before, where the car was showing 1% state of charge and 4 miles of range. I was, again, 5 miles away from the charger when it was showing this, and it had no performance. I was like, oh, I'm expecting big power down to 0%, like I saw when I was doing the charging test days ago. And here I am at 1% with 5 miles on the car, and it wouldn't move. I was worried about climbing hills with this thing.
So the BMS got confused
Yeah, and
somehow.
that's very common. It happens in electric cars all the time. It just never knows what's on it. Again, doing 70 miles an hour all day, we had a constant drain on that battery pack.
Right.
It just, you never know what's going to happen, and that's basically the situation. So I didn't think I was going to make it back. You got to watch the end of the live stream. It's hilarious. I was blowing red lights, getting up over I just needed to crest the highway to get up.
I like how as you're blowing the red lights, you're like apologizing to no one, that nobody can hear you apologizing. It's like, hey, pickup truck, I'm really sorry I'm blowing this red light, but get out of my way. It's
right.
like,
I mean, this thing was wide open throttle for minutes. And again, I was trying to spike some regen in there just to not let the pack voltage drop too low.
So Kyle, I have a question for you. When you know in how Tesla, oftentimes it'll sit at 5% for a while, and you're not sure if it's going to go to 6 or 4, and it hangs out at that 5%.
On the battery pack, or on what?
I'm talking about on the indication. If you're looking at the state of charge in the car as you're pulling it down, what I've noticed in Tesla is that it'll stay at that 5% for quite a long time, and then all of a sudden it'll start kicking down. So in other words,
I don't think I've noticed that.
What's that?
I don't think I've ever noticed that.
Linear. I've seen that. I've seen that quite often.
Are you talking about on the route planning?
No.
When you put in your destination, you're saying in the car itself?
In the car itself.
Yeah. No, never noticed that. But what Tesla does.
My question was, when you started coming down off of 8%, 6%, 5%, did it linearly go down to the 1%? It's not like it stayed at 3 or 4% for a long time. It was going linearly down.
I mean, as much as it didn't seem abnormal to me, I didn't notice anything like that. The one thing Tesla does, which is different, is they hide 3 kilowatt hours past 0. So you have to use that in range tests. You need to always add an additional 3 kilowatt hours onto whatever number it says when you hit 0. And that's what I do when I range test Teslas.
I see.
I think the Lucid was a little bit confused down low, and that's not uncommon, but I noticed something interesting because I just went back and I reviewed Tom's range test video. Now, I've had this Lucid Air at 0% twice, and then this one where it was actually dead, indicating 1%. Again, wide open. There was not an inch left in that car. Again, maybe I could have used the momentum to get another half a mile, maybe, but that thing was out. In Tom's range test in the Lucid Air Dream Edition, the car actually came up with a message that said, hey, I'm completely out of juice. Find a charger now. Mine didn't come up with a steady message like that. So I'm thinking they may have adapted software a little bit since then. I also noticed that during Tom's range test, his car had lane centering, which is pretty cool, but that's not been updated to any of the cars that are in production. So any customer cars don't have lane centering, at least at the time of this recording.
Really? He had lane centering. Interesting.
Yeah, I noticed it on the screen in one of the clips in his range test that he had lane centering. And I remember talking to him about it, that Lucid said they would be able to enable it for him for his range test. So that's kind of interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, we should ask him how it was, because I don't know. But definitely our car does not have, I mean, ours is a customer car. It's just same software that's available to the public.
So that's what they call Dream Drive. Is that correct?
Right. I don't know if he had the full suite or whatever it was, but he definitely had lane centering on his drive.
Okay. So not a production car, obviously, then.
Certainly. I mean, so if we get into let's compare our test versus Tom's test, which is Tom does great range testing. Can't fault that. He tries and works just as hard as we do when we do testing. So, and totally different cars and totally different environments, but people are going to be curious. Why did ours only go 435.5? Why did his go 500 on the nose? Again, 118 kilowatt hour. He was able to get 117. I only got 109. out of my car. His might be a little bit fresher. It's hard to say. Conditions sounded pretty similar to me. Tom said that he started his test when it was 55 degrees and ended it right when it was about 65 degrees Fahrenheit, which I thought was pretty interesting. Mine started at 65 degrees and we pretty much ended right there. I mean, it stayed, between 63 and maybe 61 and 66 degrees all day. And again, a full loop style test. You would think I would have the efficiency benefit being at higher elevation, though. Don't you think, Dad?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
You're at what? You're basically a mile high, right?
Yeah, I think the average for the test is like 4,800 feet or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so close to a mile. And
what about the elevation change that in Tom, he does it down in Jersey or Pennsylvania or wherever he goes?
He did this one in Arizona.
Oh, he did it in Arizona.
Yep, he picked up the car at the factory. Yep.
Okay, I guess I remember that. Yeah. All right. Interesting.
So to me, there's some unanswered questions here, which is, okay, you would think we would have a little bit better elevation. He said his was about 12 or 1,500 feet on average. We were about 4,500 feet on average, let's just say. And of course, maybe his route was a little bit flatter, but that's why I run all cars on our test. When I compare our, Lucid Air test, it has to be to other cars in the same loop, at leaving the same charger, same place. But the efficiency difference doesn't make much sense to me because he got, I think, 4.2 or 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour. I got about 4 or 4.1. Can't remember exactly. I'll have to check my notes, but definitely slightly less efficient in my test. Who knows? Could be a solar load, a thermal load from sunlight, or who knows what exactly. But really, at the end of the day, let's just talk about the results. 435.5 miles, 109 kilowatt hours used, and 4 miles per kilowatt hour. That is 250 watt hour per mile right there. That's insane.
That's 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, 70 miles an hour loop style test. What is your impression of that, the efficiency?
Incredible. Insane. The only thing that's, I guess the only hesitation that I have in going like, wow, I'm totally blown away is what Tom did. Right. And I'm sorry to go back to that, but for example, if somebody said, okay, wait, the Dream Edition, I think was EPA 520. I think the GT is 516, if I'm not mistaken. So you're talking about 4 miles over very small difference in EPA. Now I know EPA is not the right way to go about this, but what the company is telling a consumer is there's only 4 miles of difference between these two cars, both 19-inch wheels, one having 119 kilowatt hours and the other having 112 fresh from the pack. 7 kilowatt hours difference when the packs leave the factory, to only show right off the bat the number 4 miles of difference in EPA doesn't make sense to me.
Totally agree. This is the big question mark. How was the Lucid Air Grand Touring tested versus the Dream Edition? Because there's a massive battery pack capacity difference. When we're talking the difference between 112 and 118, this is claimed range, claimed usable capacity. I believe it, by the way. I believe this left with 112 kilowatt hours. I've never tested a Dream Edition. I know there's been some rumors of different battery pack capacities. Someone's like 130, whatever it is. I don't know. I can't speak to that. I've never tested a Dream.
Well, I think that's the Tesla community trying to figure out why this thing is so efficient. That's my opinion.
Well, you mean has so much range? Yeah.
Right. Has so much range?
Well, again, I don't know. We should maybe find a customer Dream Edition car and run that and see what that actually does. That would be kind of interesting.
You know what I'd like to do is go to a truck scale, weigh the cars.
Well, again, we don't have access to the car Tom had anymore.
No, I'm just saying you take a Dream and you take a GT and you figure out how they should weigh the same,
right? Because it's just a battery pack. Well, it's just a chemistry change. The cell count is the same. So they should weigh identical.
Oh, you're saying the actual number of batteries, the actual little batteries is the same exact. There's no physical, you're talking about the chemistry being different in the battery pack, which gives it the extra 7 kilowatt hours or 6 kilowatt hours of battery pack.
That's what Lucid claims. That's my understanding.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
When I look at the EPA filings, they have 22 modules. They have the same battery packs, numbers and everything, same voltages, which is kind of interesting as well. I really think we should find a dream to compare to the Grand Touring and see what the heck is going on here.
Yeah.
Because the big, 4 miles difference in the EPA cycle for what is the difference? 5 kilowatt hour difference in the battery pack?
6.
No, because it's 118. Yeah, 6 kilowatt hour difference.
6.
Yep.
Well, it's 118. 118 is what they said the Dream had. That's what Lucid said, right? And now they're saying 112. Is that
For the
right?
Grand Touring. Yes, that's the claim.
For the GT. So, and I know that, they fit those battery packs like super smoothly in the whole frame of the car, and how you've got less room with your feet with the GTs and the Dreams compared to, like, say, the Pures or even the Tourings, where they get more depth because they're piling those battery packs up in the rear seat right where your feet go. And so, I see what you're saying. It's not as if they've jammed extra batteries. It's just different chemistry.
Different chemistry. Now, why wouldn't they use that chemistry for the Grand Touring? I don't know. I don't know what the chemistry change is. I don't know anything internally. Maybe some of our audience does. But here at the end of the day, we have one result, which is the Grand Touring at 435.5. I believe it to be as best as, as reasonable as best of conditions as I could possibly have. Temperatures were right. The car was set up properly. I even gave it the extra wax at the car wash to make it slightly slipperier. I gave this thing every last chance I could.
Right.
And then you have a Dream Edition, which we expect to go a bit farther, but not like that much farther, coming in at 500.
Let's say, tell me if I'm wrong. You got how many miles were on this car? Like 5K?
I left with 30, high 38 or low 3,900 miles on it.
Okay. And just with your experience, Kyle, how much degradation do you believe happens in the first 5,000 miles of an EV battery?
Yeah. Well, it depends totally how it's driven. It depends on time. A lot of it is time. This car is older. It's 6 months old. And for it to lose, in my prediction, 1.8% capacity, 1.5 to 2%, somewhere in there, seems very reasonable to me for it to lose.
Okay. So all right. So I'm just trying to backdoor into the math. So if you did whatever you did today, and you add that degradation to that number that you did today, you're still talking about a 40 plus mile difference between what Tom logged and you did. And I guess I'm just not seeing where the numbers go. Look, I'm not going to harp on it too much. It's a stellar result, right? Let's not kid ourselves. This is unbelievable. At 70 miles an hour, you can have a car go 400 and plus, 400 more than.
Well, it's more about that efficiency number. It's 4 miles per kilowatt hour at 70 miles an hour, which to me is mind blowing.
I mean, I've never seen numbers like that unless you're just driving around town and, dilly-daddling around. But what I liked about what you did today, Kyle, was also it was live stream. So you could see that it wasn't like you were drafting or you weren't doing anything. I mean, all of this was totally legit. I guess if I put just complete myopia on what you did today, I'm blown away.
Yeah, but that's sort of my thinking too. And then I called you and you're like, wow, I'm really disappointed. That's why I said, let's do this podcast.
No, so, I know. But again, I don't want to say that I'm disappointed, but I'm trying to understand the difference between, I remember when Tom did the test in 500 miles, I was like, wow, are you kidding me? 500 miles on a car that's got 520 EPA. And EPA, generally speaking, isn't that like around town? That's like an average. And with electric vehicles, if you're driving around town, you're going to get a lot more range than you would at 70 miles an hour.
Well, you could get 800 miles out of this car.
No, I get that. If you drive it 30 miles an hour with a tailwind in one direction, you don't do a loop style, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But to be able to say that EPA is 520, which by itself is an insane number, right, on the Dream, and then say that you're only at 70 miles an hour, you're only 20 miles less than 520. That's what really blew me away was that test. So I don't know. I gotta have to digest this and maybe watch this video again because I know he does it the right way. I know Tom.
We came in at about 15% less than EPA doing 70 miles per hour highway.
And
To me,
that
that
makes sense to me.
our result makes 100% sense. I
Right.
feel very confident with it, and that's the number I feel comfortable putting out. And that I'm more particular than anyone about this. I was harping on that rain,
I
which we
know.
didn't even have a wet road for more than a half a mile.
I
And I was
know,
like, oh,
Kyle.
man.
Trust me, I get it. When I was charging my Tesla the other day and I want to put up a video and you're like quizzing me on all these things and I was like, and you just said you can't put the video up. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And like I know that the way with which you think about this and the way with which you do it, but I also know the way Tom does it too. That's why I'm just having trouble really thinking this through and getting my head around it. But if you put it in, I'm wondering if the Kathy, hold on one second. If the Dream Edition, do you know if that had? I know it had 19-inch wheels, but do you know if it also had wider tires?
I don't know for sure, because I know ours are 245 section tires. I filled them up to manufacturer claimed rating, which Tom did the same thing. I'm,
Right.
I'm not too concerned about comparing ours versus his. Let's
Okay.
just end this with, there's our results. We ran the thing full to dead. The conditions were pretty much perfect. We dodged all the rain. Our live stream was amazing. The
Yeah.
car is insanely efficient. I mean,
Oh
again,
yeah.
4 miles per kilowatt hour at 70 miles an hour. I ran the thing from California up to here pretty quickly, and it was tough to get it, below 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour, cruising at triple digits. And so, to me, that's very impressive. If I go out in our Audi e-tron, which of course is not a competitor vehicle, I have to just touch the throttle a little bit and I'm at 2 miles a kilowatt hour. So
Yeah.
very efficient
Yeah.
vehicle, huge range. And the next thing we have to do is discuss charging, but that will come at another time. So
Yeah, listen, what Lucid has put together in this package, forget about the aesthetics of the car, forget about the build quality of the panels and all that, which
it
I know
smells
this
so
thing is,
bad.
I mean, no, it's an amazing car. But what blows me away about the Lucid is what you did today. The technology, the engineering, the fact that they can take that amount of energy and go that far at that speed, it's like it's exciting to be alive and watch this kind of stuff in today's day and age. It just is.
Yeah, it's
You
all
know,
because they put the really thin paint on the car. That made it go farther.
is that, is that the trick?
I think that might be.
I thought it was the extra wax you put on it, but I guess
Well,
I'm
that
wrong.
that doesn't hurt either, actually. So no, all good, good result. They really have to work on their software. I couldn't get in the car today this morning. I was standing there looking like an idiot for a solid 3.5 minutes for it to
Why?
recognize the key or my phone app. It wouldn't unlock. Just so many little glitches and bugs. They'll get
Yeah,
there maybe, but either way, no question, thing goes far in a charge. Thanks
yeah.
for watching another Out of Spec podcast video. Hope you like this new format. Trying to keep it, shorter, more frequent videos talking about topics like this. Any final thoughts, Dad?
I want one.
Really? Okay, so you're pleased enough to say you want to go for one.
Kyle, you know where my head is. I've fallen in love with this car, from the first time I saw it. I just my issue is I really want things with the software side to just get delivered. That's it. I think I'll feel a lot more comfortable when they have Dream Drive out, when they have Apple CarPlay out, when they put all the things in it that they said. I don't want to spend that kind of money on the come. I want it to be there, and when it is there, you'll find me in one.
Yep, I totally agree. They need to get their act together with software. Sounds like they're working really hard on it.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
I'm expecting within the next 4 weeks. Lucid has also given me a lot of expectations that haven't come through. So we'll just have to wait and see until it happens. And that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. See you in another one soon. Bye-bye.